Hey everyone, this is Shake, and today I'm finally going to be sharing some gameplay for you guys, which is just my squad trying to clear dive 45. Now there is going to be some mistakes here and there, and I think I did level up certain characters that's not that useful in terms of dives and such. So my team is not totally focused, and certain units I haven't got it yet, so it's going to be harder for me to clear. But overall, I don't think I got that many good buffs from this run, and I still managed to clear it without much problem, so I think it is going to probably help some of you guys out, maybe. But I had a lot of fun trying to clear dive today, and I was managed to clear it finally, and here's some gameplay for it. Now, one thing to notice is my ships are pretty much garbage in terms of like levels and such, so they are not that high levels. And you might want to create this R ship that you see right here. It's pretty good. It's able to stun some targets as well as able to slow their attack speed and such, so it helps your units survive the hits from enemies for a bit. But overall, most important part is of course leveling out and maxing out certain characters, and certain characters like Orca is very useful. Orca will do a lot of damage to corrupted objects, which is a lot of enemies as well as a boss enemy, so Orca is going to be very useful in that sense. Now when it comes to other units as supports, I think characters like Talon is much better usage, so if you want to use her, it's going to be much better in return. If you don't have any other rangers really, I think you really are out of options and maybe trying to throw in some supporters or defenders, but you definitely want to throw in a unit that can do a lot of damage to make sure your front line is not getting melted by enemies or such, or you want to throw in a unit that's really tanky. So if anyone has Awakened Hilde, I think that might be a very good supporting unit to throw in, even though she is very high cost. If you can manage to survive it and deploy her as a support unit, it's going to help your run go very smooth. And this is another point of the dive that you really want to take a benefit of, which is a 3-round wave, and this is going to be much easier and there is no real enemies that will hurt your ship. The only problem is this snipers comes out, and most of the time you are going to be using your striker as a tank, as you see here, so you want to make sure to deploy units to kind of disrupt them to make sure your front line not dying. I got a little bit dangerous here, but Orca came to save me right there, as well as I was able to deploy my characters once again. And when you're trying to clear a dive, I think the most important part is early on is to trying to not make a full team and trying to kind of separate teams into maybe 4 to 5 units maximum. So in that way, your turn for, let's say, your main leaders will come a lot faster, and when they die, you can deploy them much quicker. If you have a full team of 8 members for your squad, it's going to be much harder to pull that off, and having to pull unnecessary units at the front to be able to summon your tank once again. But as you can see, this is pretty easy one compared to other ones because you don't really have bosses or any other ship skills, and you just have to deal with the corrupted objects enemies, which Orca can take them out very easily. So Orca also able to reset the cooldown when you max out the ultimate skill, so damage potential she has is pretty insane, and she is also able to heal as well. If you can give her just any HP sets, she should be able to be a little bit more tankier, and it's going to help you out when you use as a leader as well. Now in here I was trying to make some choices. You definitely do want to go for the buffs because buff really help, but sometimes you just have to kind of consider and choose what you want to go for. I think Gauntlet one is the hardest one because that one is the one that has the enemies that will attack your ship directly, is able to summon a Thunderbolt. So if you go into the yellow spots, that's going to be probably the most challenging one unless you are using a squad with a very high level HP. In here I try to tank my units with the striker. I think this was probably the hardest one, but I tried to go through this and it kind of works, so I'm glad. Usually I think I want to go in here with my other squad. This one is pretty hard too, I think. But if you use certain units in combination, this is going to be much easier as well. But like I said, Orca is just no-brainer against many of these spots. So you really want to level up the Orca, and they give one for free. So you can definitely go for her as well. And not to mention, Orca is going to be even more stronger in the future. So you definitely want to invest into Orca, because Orca will always help you out throughout the PvE.
전투를 대비해 주십시오.
Now this part of the map once again is going to be much easier. I try to deploy Hilde as well, and Hilde is actually pretty tanky for the 3 cost, and she's able to kind of juggle enemies in the air, and depending on the enemies you fight, that will actually help you out pretty big time. So you want to make sure to deploy Hilde, or you want to make sure to raise Hilde, because she is going to be very useful in PB contents in the future as well as right now for the dive. Like that, as you can see, the air juggle thing is very helpful. And not to mention, when you max out her skills, she will get more damage resistance every time she uses special skills, and she will also get the barrier. So there is pretty much no reason not to. I don't think I maxed her skills out in here, and that's why you don't really see the barrier. But overall, she is very good character to use for 3 costs and really helps. The one deck I probably want to use in the future is probably New Detroit with a bunch of strikers like Lin Xian, like Hilde, and Orca. And that's going to be probably destroying all the enemies, and you can probably throw in some supporter rangers to take out the aerial units if it is needed. But most of the time there is no real aerial units that you really have to deal with, and you can just do the map pretty well by these units. And it's going to be pretty similar in the future as well, when more dive floors come out, like dive 45 to like 50. Those floors are pretty hard, and you can still use a lot of these units you see in here in those maps as well.
전투를 대비해 주십시오.
And here Maria was actually doing pretty good work to take out the sniper, or at least one of them, and I think I was able to use my ship skills to try and take it down once again, and yeah, there we go. And we are pretty good now. As you can see, it's pretty much similar. You just kind of have to stall, and Orca is going to be using a lot of ultimate here and keep healing herself every time she kills the enemies and such. And then this tower thing is actually, or the striker boss is actually very tanky and annoying. It keeps sending the shockwave and such. I really hate that thing. And one thing I have to say about use for SSR units, I think Khan is definitely a really good unit. She is pretty decent tank, and her damage is pretty good in my opinions, and she is going to help you out within the supporter slots pretty well. Another really good unit, probably not for supporter because she's not that tanky, but Lozadia is really good. You will see when I try to clear the boss room, which I didn't do that well. But when you have only like 4 or 5 units within your squad, you can deploy Lozadia quite often, and they'll make her able to reset her cooldown time for her special skills, as well as less cooldown time on ultimates. This is going to help her out big time, and you definitely want to take a benefit of that. And also you can see the artifacts I'm trying to take. I'm trying to take something that will give me HP regen or give me more deployment costs. Those are the 2 basic ones you definitely take a benefit of, because that way you can summon your units more often, and your units will be getting some additional healing every single seconds. That will help them able to survive within this fights much better, and especially when you go for dive 50 in the future when it comes out, it's going to really help you out in those contents as well. So remember those 2 artifacts, one that gives more deployment costs as well as healing. That's going to help you out big time within the dive especially. The other ones, I guess attack speed is pretty good. Anything that will boost the counter damage or able to do more damage against enemies is always good as well. So there are some artifacts that will give a debuff to enemies, making them taking more damage against you and such. So those kind of artifacts are very important as well. Or any artifacts that will just flat out boost your attack, as well as crit damage, crit chance, stuff like that. That really helps. There's no such artifact as improving your skill haste, which is kind of sucks, but I think that kind of artifact could be really fun.
꾸준히 침식파가 검출됐습니다.
And here I'm going to be fighting the Eater. So this boss is actually pretty tough and you have to watch out, and it's a defender. It has a couple patterns as well, you will see in here. First, you probably want to kind of take down these little minions. They are pretty annoying, and soon it's going to be entering the mode where you need to kind of do a certain amount of multi-hits to kind of break the pattern. I think it's going to come out pretty soon. And when you get hit by this attack, you will get skill seal on your all allies as well as some stuns for a little second. So this does not help at all. One good thing about the dive is you don't really have to worry about getting into 3-star at all. So that's one good thing, but as you can see, Lozaria definitely helps to be able to deploy again and to do some damage. I think Evelyn is going to be a much better healer, of course, but at the time, I think Evelyn needed for other squads in my opinions, because they were much lesser than this one, so I decided to use that. Claudia, I think she is a very good healer as well, and more you can deploy her, the better it is, because her passive skill will instantly heal your allies, which really helps. And there goes down the Eater. Did pretty good, I think, in my opinion, and I was able to take them down pretty easily.
이게 바로 진짜 힘이란 거다, 피아노자. 수호령께서 대박적 표를 속삭여 주셨습니다.
But now let's review some of the units I used. And as you can see, here is my Lozaria. I try to use some attack sets. The substat, anything is pretty bad. I didn't bother trying to roll with the binary because I don't really want to waste it. I rather want to save that for, let's say, other maze gears and such. Then I have a Chifuyu with some attack speed gear, which isn't that great, just for the set option for the sake of it. But Heidi also here, I tried to max out her passive skill so she is a little bit more tanky. And Claudia was missing some gear, which doesn't really matter, but I try to max out at least the passive skill, so every time she gets deployed, she can heal pretty good. And then we have Shouting. I try to give some gears for her so she can do more damage, but it doesn't really work out. The gear is still pretty bad. But at least I maxed out her passive skill as well as a basic attack, so she can crit much better. But that was my first squad, and the second squad I have a Kallen. Of course, it's not really complete set, but I maxed out her skills, so she will do very good damage, and she will get less cooldown time and ultimates and such. Hilde also I gave actually pretty decent setup, I think, in my opinion, for early on, and I maxed out her skill much as I can. And as you can see, Sylvia here as well, Assault Trooper also pretty good, and I got Roy here as well, and I wish I can level up his skill a little bit better. Pendragon, I got nothing here, and back to Gon again. And the third squad, the Orca, is pretty much the main, as was Evelyn. I gave the cooldown sets, but honestly it's not really needed. I just try to slap some stat on her at least. And here's some stats for her, which is just all over the place. So this item is not that important in my opinion. As you can see, my Evelyn just has some random sets. This is the skill level that matters the most, as well as the limit break in my opinion. And Mina, just pretty much nothing here as well. I think I will try to focus her later as well. And Lee Jisoo to kind of trying to tank a bit, but I think I can definitely throw in other defender instead, but I didn't have better options. Maria also pretty good here, and I wish I can limit break her to level 100 and maximize her skills. Then it's going to really help me out in the future. And Lin Xian is going to be very important here, like I said. And Harim is also very important for the squad, so he can get barriers as well as more skill haste. And I didn't actually max out the ultimate skill here. And any other units are just kind of meat shield and such. So don't really think too much. The main point is to trying to make sure your main squad has enough DPS and other squads has at least 1 or 2 members to kind of carry the team. And until supporter units comes out, you kind of hold on, and after supporter unit comes out, that's the time you kind of want to go for. But that is pretty much it for this video, and as you can see, it's not really high spec at all in my opinions. My ship levels are garbage, so you really have to watch out for that yellow spots or yellow nodes within the dive, but other than that, it should be pretty easy. But thanks for watching. This is Jake. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.